from San Diego, this is the Fox 5 Morning News at 7.
Congressman Kevin McCarthy loses his role as Speaker, House Speaker in a historic vote.
Fox 5 political analyst Charles Chamberlain is back to break down exactly what's next. Charles, good morning.
Good morning.
What's next? What happened? What's going on? This was historic yesterday. We've never seen a Speaker of the House removed from his position. Can you put everything that happened yesterday into perspective for us?
Well, 8 Republicans joined all the Democrats in removing Speaker McCarthy from office. And again, this is the first time this has happened in U.S. history. Never happened before, and there's good reason for that. Typically, when you're a speaker, you're elected by your party, and you got a majority of support behind you. Right. Remember a couple months ago, 8 months ago, in fact, it took 15 times for him to be elected as Speaker. That came back to him. This is news, right? But it isn't news because this is something that we expected to happen for a long time now.
Yeah.
But why did this happen? Was there like a particular moment? What's with the timing of this, that this came together now?
Well, remember when he was elected about 8 months ago, he conceded to several demands from folks from the far right. One of those demands was that one person could bring a motion to vacate to remove him from office. Pelosi didn't have this rule.
Yeah.
And so all it would take is one person, and they held the power. So we were all everybody that knew, that saw this rule coming, they said
it was coming. I mean,
it was coming.
It's going to happen.
And then over the weekend, Kevin McCarthy said, you know, let's work with the Democrats to get so that the government can continue and get that 45.
That's what you do.
And then the funny thing is like, yeah, okay, let's work together on that. And then a couple of days later, hey, can you guys support? No? Oh, okay. The Democrats said absolutely not. Okay,
and then they said, why did you do that?
So it seems like the Republican Party right now seems splintered and divided and eating itself up from the inside. Is that what's
100%.
Really going on, or is there something else?
100%. The far-right conservatives are upset with him for making concessions, for working with him to get the job done.
So are there only 8 of these far-right conservatives? There's only 8.
8.
Where was Bober and where was the other one from Georgia? I'm surprised their names weren't on the list.
Matt Gaetz, the Florida conservative, brought this motion yesterday, and then it was voted on. And I made a couple calls to friends in D.C., and a lot of folks said that these guys that kind of had the loudest voices here, they're actually running for higher office. As soon as this happened on the floor of the House, there were text messages that went out to raise money for these guys. Wow. So a lot of folks in D.C., especially in Republican circles right now, are saying that all of this was just a little bit trying to get themselves attention, to try and run for higher office and to raise their profile. And a lot of folks know it. This is a mess.
Okay, for those that are not like into all of the stuff that's happening in Washington, what happens now? Like, what's the next steps?
They're taking a week off. They're going to come back next week because they got to figure out who's going to be the speaker. And right now, they don't know. So for now, they have a temporary speaker. It is Patrick McHenry of North Carolina.
Okay.
And he's going to help run the day-to-day of the House because that's what the role of the Speaker does. You're not just a political person.
You run that thing.
You're an administrator. You run the building. You make sure somebody's mopping the floors and cleaning the bathrooms. So
let's talk about Patrick McHenry a little bit more of North Carolina. Who is this guy? And when I was joking earlier, but when he slammed that gavel to end the session, there was something behind that slam. He is an ally of McCarthy. He is angry at what has happened with these 8 Republicans. Who is McHenry? So, and how did you interpret that? That was the angriest slam of a gavel I've ever seen.
I actually worked with Patrick McHenry back in the House when I was there 20 years ago. Yeah. At the time, he was the youngest member elected to the House at 29 years old. He used to be outspoken and in front of the camera, and over the last couple of years, he understood that you've got to work within the system, and he's been a guy that behind the scenes has worked to get things done. He especially helped Speaker McCarthy get this last spending bill so that the government could keep running. So he's a guy that works behind the scenes, that knows people, and quietly there are some Republicans in the House right now that are hoping that he would throw his hat in for the ring to become the next speaker.
He didn't want to do it, though?
They're all saying they don't want to do it.
Well, then who is going to do it?
McCarthy said he's not going to try to get the position back, so
There's a couple people, and I think this is going to be one of these cases where it's kind of going to, everybody's going to be pointing in different directions, saying you do it, you do it, you do it, and there's going to be somebody that probably said that they don't want to do it that's going to do it. You've got Majority Leader Steve Scalise, but unfortunately he's battling blood cancer right now. He's undergoing chemotherapy, so that's a tough issue. You've got Majority Whip Tom Emmer, who said he's not going to do it as well, but he's the next in line after Scalise. Sure. Then you've got the top woman in the House, who's Elise Stefanik, who's a popular figure leading the House Republican Conference Chair. That's the fourth person in line right after the Speaker. And then you've got the longest-serving, one of the longest-serving Republicans that's in the House, Tom Cole, who a lot of folks are looking to, although he also said, I don't want to do this. And look, fun fact, this happens a lot when this job is up. It's a hard job.
I wanted to ask you before we let you go. So Patrick McHenry, and he did his gavel thing and said he doesn't want to do it, but he does plan maybe to have an election when they all come back. Are they going to keep that rule that they got back in January about this single where one person can create this chaos, or are they going to get rid of that moving forward? Because the next Speaker of the House isn't going to want that in there, knowing that at any moment you look over your shoulder, you're ousted.
That was the whole thing with Kevin McCarthy in the first place, was that a lot of folks said, look, if it's going to take you 15 times to get this job, if you're going to put all these rules in place and make yourself that weak, why are you taking the job?
Yeah.
He just really wanted to do it. So I think the next person that comes in, they're going to come in on better footing because they're not going to have to be beholden to all these different demands. But we'll see. Right now, there's a major problem that Republicans on the far right and the center have to deal with in order to find the next Speaker. And the House can't operate unless they have the Speaker. So right now, the House is in chaos and it's shut down.
And it's the people's House. It's the business of the day-to-day of running the country, of running the districts that is now. Listen, Charles, now I know why you left that town, but I appreciate the insight.
It's a lot better in San Diego.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes,
We'll be talking again soon, I'm sure.